Yes. Okay, Alvin. Um, as I was saying, it's once again for our show. The show's name is Change Your Way of Thinking to Change Your Life. The main goal of the show is to help people look at the world differently, look at things differently, and better their life in the process. Not just complain about the situation, but making changes and making things happen for themselves.
Just going to grab something here.
Okay.
I've actually just had a thought to myself when I was getting a book.
Yes. Oh, okay.
So I have, I think it's in here. I just did a presentation yesterday for a school,
Yes. Oh.
and I always take books to my schools because have you seen my book?
Not yet, but I'm about to get it.
Okay. Well, you know what I'll do for you, because I appreciate what you're up to. You send me your mailing address,
Yes.
and I'll be happy to send you one with my compliments. Would that be cool?
Oh, that would be
Yeah.
great.
See, here it is, right here.
Yes. Yes.
So why I bring this up is not to promote it. That's not my intention, but it's very funny that you're having this project because I believe that's what I have been doing my whole life. Is really just not trying to just brag about me, but to challenge the way people see things through my story. So it's a perfect fit.
Yeah. Because actually, the thing is, personally in this case, uh, during this project, the difference is with regular work is I feel alive. I feel that that's the mission. That's what's needed to be done. It resonates. It's like it's not no interest. I can do it all my life without getting paid. It's not a problem. But I feel directly right here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yes, and when I listen to some of your work, I watch some of your video, I thought that's just incredible. Let me try to contact Alvin and
This is awesome then. Meant to be.
but Alvin, can you tell you about your story and for those of us, I mean, for those who are watching and who doesn't really know you that well, can you tell us a little bit of your story?
Well, the story has been told literally thousands and thousands of times because I embrace the question. I'm not embarrassed when people ask me what happened to me when they look at me and see that I have no arms. I am not a unique individual. There are, again, probably hundreds of thousands, if not more, people around the planet that have no arms. When you look at the odds of being born this way, the odds of it are very, very small. But of course, the population of the planet is very large. But specifically in my case, I became part of a statistic, frankly, and that was a number that jumped in the early 1960s when mothers were given a prescription medicine called thalidomide. And thalidomide was given to combat nausea. And it was in an era in our history when we freely gave pregnant women pharmaceuticals. We in fact, probably didn't even have hesitation if you were pregnant in those days to consume alcohol or smoke cigarettes. Well, in 2015, we know that's not healthy.
Mhm.
But in 1960, when I was born, we didn't know that. So my birth mother was given medication. My arms didn't grow, and I was born in the summer of 1960. But even more importantly, before I was even a week old, I was also given up for adoption because my birth family were too overwhelmed with the reality of dealing with a baby without arms. But again, it was a thing about the era, 1960, and I focus on that specifically just because it's a convenient target of the year that I was born. But we were so ignorant. In fact, even in 1960, and between you and I, this is something that we can agree on, I betcha, the world was way bigger. I mean, the world has shrunk now because of airplanes and because of the internet and because of our ability to interact with people. So in 1960, I was put into the lowest category of human being, which wasn't done in a racist or prejudiced way. It's just the way it was. It wasn't right. And my birth family kind of included me in that pack. They said, well, you know, he's so crippled up, he won't be able to do anything. So when they signed the documents to give me away for adoption, that's where my life took a complete turn. And that's why our subject matter is so perfect, because in the home that I was raised, my parents were my foster parents first, but then they became my only family. But they had a different way of looking at the world. So when I started using my feet, which are my hands, others might look at that and go, don't do that. Those things are filthy, or don't do that. Feet are ugly or gross. My mother embraced it. So if you've ever been able to observe, change your thinking, change your life, well, there you go. My parents' thinking changed my life.
Wow, that's amazing. And we can just see already by the little twist, just a few ideas, people with like good ideas, a better perspective of life can have an influence toward others and help them better their life.
Well, I think even more profoundly, my friend, is I've got a great line about this, and it's not even about me. It's about my son. I've got an almost 30-year-old son, and he often gets the question, how does it feel having a dad without arms? And I love the answer that he gives, because he doesn't really answer it. He just says, well, it's not like I got to pick. So you didn't either, my friend. Wherever you were born, whoever your parents were, whoever your family was,
Yeah.
this is true of every human being on the planet. I know this sounds kind of very profound, but in fact it is profound, because we don't get to choose the beginning of our circumstance.
Yeah.
We, however, get to choose how we accept the circumstance. So if you're born in a rural village in the middle of Africa somewhere, that's your life. If I'm born in the middle of a farming community in the middle of Canada, that's where my life started. But everything after that beginning is flexible and fluid, is what I like to call it. And how we live our lives is very much determined by those we spend our time with. And I was just lucky. That's all I can say, is I was so lucky to be put into a foster home where I was not viewed as being a mistake. I was viewed as being a blessing. And that's not a religious statement. That's just a statement of fact.
Yes. Well, that's even amazing, Alvin. As you mentioned, we cannot choose where we were born. Me, for example, I'm born in one of the poorest countries in the world, in Congo, where there are war going on for like more than a decade.
Goodness.
But what I decided to do was not to take it as a weakness. I've been handed cards by life. I need to start playing it now. I cannot be just complaining, oh, my country, all this, all this, all this. I need to try to help and see how I can add, how I can help, how my life can help better. Maybe someone's life or some other. Just trying to add something.
Absolutely. I think there's an expression that I use, and I don't want to do this too much in terms of framing my message around my work. But the fact is, my work as a speaker drives a lot of my thinking. It was probably there in the first place. But what I find interesting is I have a reference point in my talk, and this is really about our energy. We all have energy. I can tell by even meeting you via the internet. I'd love to meet you in person. I bet you give great hugs. You give great hugs. Well, we have energy inside of us. And I'll give you an example. I call it the takers and the givers. A lot of people take things away from our planet. They take emotion. They take energy. I don't mean oil. I mean just energy. They take things. They're takers. They're not thieves, although there are those too. And then there's people that give to our planet. They're generous people. Their spirit is different. They're not looking for what the world can give them. They're looking for what they can give the world. And that's what I decided to do with my career. It wasn't because I couldn't find a job. In fact, my first job was working in radio. I was a radio announcer. And it wasn't, again, because that was the only thing I could find. I was actually a talented musician. And I'm sure you can find, video to show your audience that, how I play. But, I happen to have my drumsticks just sitting right here.
Wow.
When I put a pair of drumsticks between my feet like this and my toes, and I started playing the drums with my feet, a lot of people looked at it and went, oh, you're just showing off, or you're just trying to do magic. No, I wanted to play music. And when I started playing music as a teenager, that's when my life transformed, because I was now around people who wanted to give something, and that was our talent, that was our gifts, but even more importantly, creating music. Is there anything more generous to do for the planet than that? In my mind, that's what I thought. So it wasn't about having no arms. It was about taking advantage of what I was given and then doing something about it.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing, Alvin. So, and another thing I love the most is when you're talking even about energy, it's like nothing else came to stop you. a lot of people, whenever they are in an obstacle, they just go, they try once and then,
Yeah.
but you didn't let anything stop you. You knew
No,
what you wanted to do. You wanted to play music. You went to music.
the world was not designed for me. So again, going back to the 1960s, their world did not have accessibility. It didn't have automatic doors in buildings. It didn't have, at least, as you've seen when you came over here, but even around the world, there's accessibility now. There's special washrooms or facilities for people. There's special ramps. There's special parking. All of these acknowledgments or accommodation, as we call them, towards people with disability did not exist in 1960. There was also no knowledge in 1960. I often like to joke that my mom, and when I say my mom, I mean my foster mom, because it's the only mom I ever knew. My mom couldn't exactly Google no arms. So she had to use her instinct. But even more importantly, she had to do it in a positive way. That's why I say I was lucky. But here's the thing. Even if we're not lucky and we're born into a negative environment, we can move from that environment to another one. I think that's the thing that terrifies people the most. I think a lot of people, even back in your own country, for example, some of your people have chosen to fight because they don't think they have any other option. They just want to use violence and they want to beat an enemy. That's one of the choices they've made. You made a different choice. And no matter where you came from, it was absolutely part of who you are. But you chose to make it a better thing. And I think that's the trouble, is a lot of people, maybe they don't feel strength, or maybe they don't feel inspiration, or maybe they just are lazy, quite frankly. I think a lot of people are lazy, not getting off the couch and running around the block, but getting off the couch and doing something to make your life better. And if it means leaving, as you did, the Congo, or me leaving my small town when I was 18 to go see the world. I mean, my friend, I'm so blessed. I've been around the world. I've been to 5 continents. I've been able to see how the world is shaped by positive thinking, because that's the group that I hang with, right? I'm always speaking to people in a positive tone. And they sometimes look at me and go, are you real? Like, how could someone without arms be so positive? Once you get positive, it's hard to go negative again.
Once you get positive, it's hard to get negative again. Yeah.
Absolutely. It
And
just feels too good.
yeah, and actually, I even think that a lot of people, whenever they say you need to look at things the right way, to look at things positively, they say, nah, they just say it's not the way they should look at it. We're not realizing that just by looking at things positively, it's like your playing field become bigger. You see your sight become larger. You see even more possibilities. You see even things other people cannot notice just because you can see what's possible. Now what can hold you back?
Absolutely. And in fact, here's the most important gem of all. You meet other people on the same journey, right? You meet like-minded people. I find it interesting because a lot of people say, well, it sounds pretty egotistical to only choose to hang around with positive people. And I love that question because it's a good question. Say you're in a family where you have siblings, brothers or sisters, whatever, who are incredibly negative. And you think, well, wow, how did I end up with such negative family? Well, you know what? You don't get to pick your family, but you get to pick your friends, and you get to pick your associates, and you get to pick. And I know a lot of people think that this is predictable coming from a speaker, but I'm telling you, man, when I started picking good people to be around, we're having a party tomorrow night in our home. We're bringing in some musicians to have a house concert. I'm so excited about it, not because of the concert, but because my house is going to be full of 50 people who love life.
Wow.
You get 50 people in your home who love life, it makes for a very nice evening, doesn't it? Now, is there anybody in the audience tomorrow night that will have some degree of negativity? I can't even pick one out of the whole bunch. But it's not because I see someone negative and go, I'm not going to talk to you. In fact, I sometimes have to shut up because I want to fix them, or I want to inspire them, or I want them to see the world differently, because I can't believe you're happy living in a negative mindset. It must be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, and I think that's even what breeds suffering, actually. Just being negative, worries, and just because you see negativity all around. You're just seeing the
Yeah.
bad stuff, and then after a while, you get so worried, you get depressed, which is not good.
No, and the other thing, quite frankly, too, is it's a health issue. We don't talk enough. We're starting to more in the West because it's a topic of discussion, I guess. But the whole idea of mental health, how we look after our health, I believe more than anything, we can become healthier by positive thinking. And if you look into the science, there's actually science on this subject. So it's not just, as I call it, hyperbole or something that I'm just talking about because it sounds nice. I've been very blessed in my life, again, to have never actually been in a hospital, other than going to hospitals for my prosthetics. They tried to get me to use artificial arms. And why is that? Well, I don't work out. I don't run. I don't jog. I don't do any major exercises. But I think I resist illness because there's a positive energy flow inside my system. So I think my energy also allows my immune system
Yes.
to build more strength. We can all look at this from a medical point of view, and that's fine, but I tend to look at it from a holistic point of view, right? I look at, for example, there's thousands of babies that were born the same time I was around the world that were affected by this drug. There's maybe 10% around the planet who at 50, plus years old, I'm 54, are healthy because they let their bodies dictate how their attitude is. So they've got shorter limbs. Maybe they don't have legs, they've only got feet. Or maybe they've only got hands and no arms. I have no arms at all. But I am healthy with my attitude and healthy with my thinking. And therefore my body benefits from that. And I think that's true of anybody, disability or not. We can be healthier with a healthier attitude.
Wow, that's incredible. I don't know where exactly I heard about it, but it looks like some research has proven that when you had even bad thoughts, it secretes some chemical in your body which is not good, which in long term can even affect your health.
Absolutely. And I think that's the trouble with a lot of people who retire. They get into retirement. They believe that they're going to do all the things they ever wanted to do, but their brain stops being active in the way that they were when they were working. So they need to be more active in their brain, because your brain, isn't the brain mysterious? I mean, I wish I understood what makes me think the way that I do. But the fact of the matter is, I believe that our brain is where this all begins. It starts with what we think. And when we're thinking, and I'm not, by the way, let's keep something in mind here. Whenever I talk about my story, I want to remind people I have no arms. I want your audience to just picture that for a minute, because that's reality. I'm not trying to raise myself on a platform here. But if I can get over my challenges in life all the way through without arms, and I've had some hits, I've had some depression, I was in a bad marriage my first time around. I married someone that I thought I could, quote unquote, fix. That didn't end up being healthy. We had a child, and then that's fine. But I'm married to a woman now. Darlene is her name. She's the most positive person I've ever met in my entire life. And when I met her, I couldn't believe how beautiful she was. And I hate to sound shallow about this, but, obviously when I met her and I wanted to spend some time with her, it was like, oh boy, you're beautiful. And it was a physical attraction. I knew why I wanted to be with her. The better question is, why would she want to be with me? I don't think it was the biceps, right? Attitude has an energy to it, and it radiates. And I think it's a very attractive feature. Let me ask a question. This is kind of a rhetorical question.
Yes.
You ever get around somebody, you're around them for 30 seconds, it was 25 seconds too long, because they're so negative and all they want to do is complain. Well, frankly, as arrogant as this sounds, life is too short to spend time with people who bring you down. We need to be around people that build us up. And in consequence of that, we can do the things that you're doing, the things that I'm doing, and that's hopefully inspiring other numbers to feel the same way. It sounds like a bizarre thing, but I call it an attitude revolution.
Wow, I like that.
Attitude revolution. And you know what? And people can say, well, what, are you going to try to change the world? Sure, why not? What's wrong with that audacious idea? I obviously cannot affect 7 billion people in 5 minutes. But if I infect one person in 5 minutes, and I do that every day of my life out there doing what our work does, that you're doing what you do, it becomes a movement. And just like the negative movements can get attention, so can positive movements. We just have to commit to it.
We just have to commit to it. Wow. And I also like the attitude revolution because so many people are negative nowadays. That's what we need. We need to change things. We need to move things to shake it.
Yes, and you know they're absolutely have every right to be negative. Can we be clear on that? I don't like them being negative, but I want to acknowledge people. If that's the choice they make, that's fine. But if they really want to pay attention to something that will make them better in every facet of their life, this is the kind of thing, what you're talking about, what I'm talking about. You know what? It really honestly is, in many respects, the only choice we get. And even though it may seem like a steep choice, someone from a village in Congo look at their life and go, well, I can't possibly make it to New York City. Want to bet? Right? Want to bet?
Well, I bet because actually I know that a lot of people would think like that. I mean, that's what they think. And another thing is just because they look at things that way, they think I cannot make my way there. They don't even try. They don't even look for they don't even look to see if there are a way they can take to get there. So basically, they just stop themselves, and that's it.
Well, and that's the unhealthy part too, isn't it? Because once you're stuck in that spot, then you get into the depression. And again, mental illness, depression, it's real. It's a physical condition. We think of it as being, when I was a kid, people would make fun of it. They call it, well, the crazy people. No, there's no such thing as a crazy person. There are people that have dysfunctional brains because they've had some kind of damage to that brain, however it has occurred. Maybe it is genetic. I mean, let's not kid around this. There's some really, really sad things that happen in our world. As we're recording this, yet again, another set of suicide bombers in Yemen have attacked mosques. I mean, who does that, right? The trouble is, if we listen to this stuff all day on the TV, or if we listen to it on the internet, or if we read about it in the papers, we're under the impression that the world is coming apart, that the world is going to destroy itself. You know what? I just don't believe that. I just don't believe it. I've been around the world and met people who don't believe it either. So it's like, yes, we have to pay attention to these terrible things that happen in our world, but they should never dominate our lives. As long as our lives are under control, if we're not hurting our neighbors, if we're not hurting our family, if we're not hurting our church or our belief systems, then we don't have to let what's going on in a part of the country, obviously sensitive to someone's loss and to see the tragedy that takes, even in a plane crash. It's a terrible thing to think about what loss people feel in such a horrible situation. But we have to look at our own lives and live the blessing. And again, it's not a religious statement. Blessings are a very spiritual element in my life, and they're universal. They come from Buddha. They come from Krishna. They come from all of these elements that people have had in their lives. God, Jesus, all these things that people believe in are part of what make me tick too. Because I want to know, what is a Muslim praying about? I want to know that. I want to know, why did Jewish people go to a synagogue? I want to know that. I don't want to criticize them or judge them. I want to find out what makes them tick. Because whether people want to hear this or not, we are all children of this planet.
Exactly. Exactly. And it doesn't matter what your ideology, what's your religion. We have a common point. We all human beings. We all kids, children of this planet.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's amazing. Alvin, what actually keeps you going? That's a question I want to ask. Because, I mean, just like everybody else, there are probably sometimes when you go like, I explain, but they just don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
But what keeps you
Well,
going?
here's what I believe in, and again, I don't want to promote my book, but I want to show your audience this. That this is something that I wrote. It's called Alvin's Laws of Life, and I wrote it many years ago, and it's now an international bestseller. I'm not trying to promote the book. I'm really not. But what I wrote in my book is something that I call my 5 laws. They spell my name, which was really, honestly, me trying to be clever.
Yeah.
But they are 5 elements that I believe are very powerful in our lives. And I spell them with my name because I want people to remember them. So they are attitude, learning, valuing your life and spirit, imagination, and never giving up. They're like my personal mission statements to the world. So we would call them all kinds of different things depending on what our point of view is. But the general term would be affirmations. Okay, so I'll give you an example. When I get up in the morning, depends what time of day it is. I'm not an early riser. I am, however, a late go to bedder, I call it, because I'm a musician, I'm an entertainer. I have that kind of DNA, right? I stay up late. But when I was first starting my career and I was going out on the road, a lady gave me a little plaque. She heard me speak at an event. This is going back to 1981 of all
Oh.
times. And the little plaque that she gave me, which she made from a greeting card, had this expression: I'm not afraid of tomorrow, for I love, no, for I, wait, how does it go? I'm not afraid of tomorrow, for I've seen yesterday and I love today. That's what it is. I'm not afraid of,
Wow.
because I've seen yesterday and I love today. I put that up, I'm going to be honest out, in my bathroom. Right? So
Yeah.
when I come in the morning to go to the washroom and I sit there, I look across the wall and there's the plaque. So no matter whether it's a Monday morning and I'm tired, or whether it's a Friday and I can't wait for the weekend, or whether it's storming outside, I go in my washroom and I see that plaque and I promise that I'm going to have the best day that I can. When you get into the habit of doing that, you're doing what my book also suggests. There are things we need to do as a practice. So attitude actually becomes a habit, not a choice.
Yes.
It's something that becomes synonymous with our day. Now, again, we're assuming that you're having a good day.
Yeah, great one.
We are. Let's remember that some days aren't good.
Uh-huh.
We lose something. We lose our job, or someone that we love dies, or even a pet. Let's just imagine something terrible happens in our life. I'm not trying to be weird about this, so I want to acknowledge that some days that affirmation may not be as effective as other days. But if you think of it as a habit, so your response to something negative happening, can you change the fact that you lost your job? Well, unless you were bad at your job and you lost it on purpose, no. But if you had a job, you can find another one. Maybe you got to move to the other side of the country. It's a way of thinking. If we've lost a loved one, I lost my parents, my mom in 96, my dad in 2001. I didn't feel good the day after my mom died. I didn't feel good the day of her funeral. But that's what that saying says. I'm not afraid of tomorrow because I've seen yesterday and I love today. If you're always thinking in these terms, it goes back to what we talked about before. You start to get into a positive vibrational energy mode. And that science gets us through the tough times. And again, I acknowledge tough times, man. I've had them, you've had them, we've all had them. But you know what? I've got another expression that my dad used to use. It's pretty crude. You ready?
Yes,
My
I
dad
am.
used to say this: you're not done until you're dead.
Mm.
It's very crude, but it's what my dad believed, because he lived till he was 95 years old. You're
Wow.
not done till you're dead. Life is a treasure every single day, if we can think of it that way.
And I think the the most beautiful part is the fact that each event, each uh, difficulty, even challenge that comes to us, I mean, it might seem hard, but it helps us grow. It helps us become better. It helps us become stronger at some point.
Well, and even more importantly, I think what it does is it allows us to help others.
Ah,
Right at the end of the day, I honestly believe that my mom used to say this too, that Alvin, you finally found your reason for being born this way. Now that's very personal to me, right? And a lot of people think, well, what do you do? So, well, I speak to audiences all over the world as a professional speaker would, but I'm not doing it because of ego. I used to,
yes.
absolutely, I'll admit that. It was all about ego. So when I play the drums for somebody on stage, or play to my piano for somebody on stage, I'm not doing it to say, look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm doing it, you can watch the audience react when I play my instruments. They kind of look at me and go, wow, look at this guy. I'm inspired. Good. I want you to be inspired. I want you to go and make someone else's life better. And then maybe they go make someone else's life better. And then they make, really, it is so achievable. We just have to believe in it. That's all.
Yes. And I mean, I just cannot really express the fact that, I mean, your life is so inspiring. Like, as you say, even when you're playing the piano, you see people light up, like,
Well, I love music. That's a big part of it, isn't it? I'm not just doing it to do an exercise. I love playing.
and a good thing with music is it know how to how to find its way directly to hearts and make people feel a certain way, feel better, feel calmer, and
Well,
Actually,
that's what is, our house concert again. This is timestamp, but when we have this get together, it didn't just, it wasn't something that was presented to us. I reached out to some people that are coming in from outside of Canada, and they're musicians that I've known for a very long time. They're coming in to do another event, and I basically know what they love. They love having these little tiny concerts in a person's home. So I basically just made a phone call saying, "Hey, while you're in Calgary, do you want to come to the house and we'll have a little concert party?" And they said, "Sure." So here I am. I'm not doing something audacious. It's just a small house party. We're not sending out to going. We're not spending $100,000 on catering. We're just going to have some snacks. But when I reach out to do something like this for somebody, and yes, I know I'm capable of it, and yes, I have the accommodation for it, and yes, I have the connections. Got it. But I started from the same beginning. We all start from the same beginning, right? We're born.
yes,
We don't know what our lives are going to be. But as we're traveling down the road of life, we make these choices that we're going to try to be around good people, that we're going to try to be charitable. Even more importantly, I get this question all the time. Okay, Mr. Law, if you know everything, when I lose my job, how am I supposed to have a positive attitude? Well, go work at a homeless shelter, or go to an animal shelter, or go to a feeding program for kindergarten kids, or go somewhere where somebody is in need. And then you can appreciate that you're maybe not all that bad off in the first place.
exactly. And a lot of people don't realize that the best way to resolve the problem is to help other people or to get in touch with other people to see what situation they're in, not just to be focused on me, but
Absolutely.
trying to go, for example, when you have a problem, you go, for example, to help in a shelter and to see just, I'm pretty sure that once you get in the environment and start helping, you will realize that you blessed actually.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think at the end of the day, there was a great speaker years and years ago in America called Zig Ziglar. And I had the incredible honor of meeting him in 2005 in Atlanta. I was at an event, and he and I shared some time together for longer than I would have even imagined. We were talking together for 45 minutes, just him and I sharing. He was intrigued by how I did things, but he coined a phrase called attitude of gratitude. It's a very old expression, attitude of gratitude. If we can use those words, I told you, as an affirmation, I'm going to be thankful today, even for the little tiniest thing. I believe that the more that we act in this way, the more that we are given. I really believe it opens the portal. The universe can give us everything we're asking for, but we have to do it with a solemn heart, a genuine soul, and an open nature to how this all works. You can't just keep on taking from the planet. You've got to give something first, and then it will be bountiful and generous to you.
Yes. So instead of being just a go-getter, we need to learn to become go-giver, to go
Absolutely.
and give.
Absolutely. You're in a city where Wall Street is full of people that are out to make the big dollar, and that's nothing wrong with that. But I don't honestly believe that a lot of their hearts are genuine. I
Yes.
think they're full of greed and selfishness, and they may get their fancy BMW, and that's okay. But I can tell you that money may buy some forms of happiness, but the happiest people I've met in my life were not driving a BMW.
Yes, and I mean, actually, I think that's even the thing. When I have to compare, for example, when I can see, uh, looking back in Congo, in my home country, when you see people, he doesn't have anything, but is radiating joy. You get close to him, you feel like something hits you. You start smiling for no reason. And you wonder what's going on. People are just joyful. And some other people, they have all the material things, but they turn depressed, they're not feeling good, always down, always not there at all. So, I mean, as you say, money can help a lot, but I think that's something a little bit above it. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think that's something more to be.
Well, you know what a U-Haul trailer is, right? You
Yes,
have them in America, they have the big U-Haul on the side. I've never seen a funeral with a hearse and a U-Haul trailer on the bumper taking all the possessions of the person that just passed away to their grave.
that's even the thing.
We spend our lives collecting stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I've got a lot of nice things in my life. Home. I drive a very nice vehicle. I get to go on vacations to lovely places. Those are choices I've made to give me a feeling as though I want to take some time to enjoy this. But I was not rich in the beginning of my life. My family were in the neighborhood we were called poor. But what the neighborhood failed to recognize is we were very wealthy of spirit. And I know that sounds like a very nice expression, but the reality is I'm not criticizing people that want to drive a BMW. Frankly, they're a
Me
very nice
neither.
car. But if all our legacy in life is about what we've acquired, that we haven't had a positive impact on people's lives, what has been the point?
That's another thing. I need maybe we should go for both yeah, with both actually. Try to live to inspire first,
Yeah.
a fulfilled life, an inspiring life, and then if we get all those material things, why not? We can enjoy it and yeah,
I also spend a significant percentage of my life every year and money on charity. And I do it not because I feel guilty or obligated. It's a natural part of what I do. I can't explain it better than that. Is it, you said it several times. We must be giving of ourselves to the world, and those signals are very clear to the world that we're a caring individual. And when we have that attitude every single day, things will indeed come to us as well. It's amazing how the process works. You might have heard of it before. My wife calls it I mean, there's all these products out there, right? That people love their certain books, they love their certain products, they love their certain videos. But the law of attraction is a very powerful thing that I believe in. And I can attract more people into my circle by being kind and generous. Hey, let's be honest, brother, I could be very bitter about this. I know lots of people that have no arms that are very bitter. They want to blame the drug company. They want to blame their parents. They want to blame the world. I understand that, but I can't live like that. It just doesn't work for me. I went through a phase where I was trying to blame the world, and I just didn't like the person I was becoming. So I choose to have this attitude, and it is a very powerful thing that I own. Attracting things into my life, I can't express how powerful that is.
yes. And if you don't forgive, if you don't let it go, it's like you're carrying something very heavy.
Oh, it's a very, very powerful weight on your shoulders. We can't walk upright when we're busy carrying the world on our back.
The way you put it, I like that. I like that.
Like that one?
Yes. Oh, wow. Alvin, another question is today, um, there are a lot of people who are trying to make a difference as well. We are following the path of inspiring people such as yourself. But maybe they're accumulating everything you gave already, everything you teach. They get it, they understand it, but they don't know if they should also go out there and help out. Or I mean, the way I can put it is they understand it, but they're not taking action yet.
Yes.
What
Yes.
would,
Well, you start small. You start in your own neighborhood. I've got a great chapter in my book where I talk about it in a form of a bit of a metaphor. I used to ride my little tricycle because I couldn't ride a bike, so I'd ride my tricycle, and I could only go around the block. It was one block, and 4 blocks by the time I was done. I never went across the street because I wasn't allowed to yet. Well, then we get a little older, and we're allowed to cross the street, and we're allowed to go into the next neighborhood. Well, once we're into the next neighborhood, we get a little bit older, and we start, going into different parts of town. And then before you know it, you've gone into the town down the road. And then before you know it, you've gone to the big city. And oh my God, before you know it, you've crossed the ocean and you've gone to somewhere else. It's all like a metaphor.
yeah.
We start small in our own communities, building a relationship with people, whether it's going down and helping out at a school, or like I said, any kind of thing that we see in our neighborhoods as being something of need. We can then start to expand. But here again is the key, not to repeat myself. Getting around people who are doing the same thing already is a powerful motivator. So you join a charitable organization, or you join a church, or you join a mission, or you join something where you're around a bunch of people that you now feel obligated to. You can't let those people down. So it draws you out from where you were. And the more that you're drawn into this climate, that's why we have these world organizations that are so powerful. Different groups. Some of them are a little bit hostile, but Greenpeace or any of these organizations where they're trying to make the world better. They're full of people that probably started off thinking, can I really do something? And then they find out that they can because they've already seen other people. This is not, and we're not inventing this, my friend.
Yes.
It already exists. It's about getting into the loop. But even more importantly, to recognize, and I think this is why I'm successful. I can talk a good talk.
Yeah.
But I can also walk that talk. So when I'm out in the community and I'll be walking down a street, or I'll be sitting in a restaurant, or I'll be even just getting gas or petrol for my car, and somebody will walk up and go, how'd you learn to do that? Well, I'm not working. I'm putting gas in my car. Why do I take time to talk to you? Because somebody has approached me. So I want to acknowledge their presence. So I will take 5 minutes out of my day, if I'm just even doing an errand, to tell people about my life, explain why I have no arms. And I'm not always needing to be working, trust me, because it's not work. It becomes this entity that you own, that is something where you bring people into the circle and then you expand that. It really is just something that all of us are capable of.
Wow, that's amazing. But Alvin, you also talked about something that I'm hearing a lot in the US right here. It's success.
Yes.
The first question will be, what do you think real success is? And the second question will be, what are either the step or the key characteristic one needs to have to achieve it?
Well, first of all, there's nothing wrong with success. Okay, and I have been successful. So, again, not about the physical elements of the things that I own, but I do own several physical things that are nice. But what I knew that I had to do was to learn. It's actually why it's in my book. It's why I believe in learning. That's the second law of my life. Learning is something we can all do. Now, I've had a lot of people say, well, Mr. Law, I never even got to go to school. Well, you don't have to go to school to learn. That's a model that is there, but we can learn no matter where we go. Well, Mr. Law, I can't read. Want to bet? Go find somebody with a literacy program that can teach you to read. The more that you learn, the more that your life begins to go up. I call it raising the bar, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. And it's not even about getting an MBA from Harvard. That's a nice thing to have. But if you've even got a certificate from a community college for a course that you took that was 6 months long, you raise the bar of your life. The more that we raise our own bar of our life, the more that we want to make it even better and better and better. And if we're fortunate enough to succeed in one thing, then we're believing that we can succeed in another. And if we carry the right heart, like I said before, then you never know where this can go. And then, again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with succeeding in America, with making the big dollar, with striking it rich, with inventing something that changes the world. I mean, I met Steve Wozniak, who along with Steve Jobs, created the computer, right? Wow. You know who those people are? When I met Steve Wozniak, I'm sure the guy's a billionaire, okay?
Yes.
But he's wearing old clothes. He's wearing worn-out tennis shoes. He's wearing, he's not even dressed in coordinated colors because he just doesn't care, right? He's not about, look at my Armani suit. Yet he's got more money in his bank account than most human beings on the planet. The point is, you can have wealth and money, but at the end of the day, is that really what we're after? I think I'd rather sleep at night and know that I've made a difference in my neighbors' lives and know that I've made a difference in the life of a child or helped a pet find a home. I mean, I know those are all very cheesy elements, but that to me is one of the things that crowns our success. It becomes something that we, at that point, the amount we give back. The entrepreneurial spirit is fine, but so is the philanthropic spirit. We must be philanthropic. We must give of what we've received, because that to me is the key to everything.
Yes, and actually, we've received so much actually. Even though we don't always realize it, we've received so much every day. For example, as I tell people who are following me on YouTube or over there, and just the fact that you wake up, you feel that strength in your body, that's already a lot. But sometimes we just don't realize it.
Well, and it is there for all of us. I think that is the bottom line. I often joke about this, that, it's easy for people to be happy if they were born with a big bank account. But, again, I don't think that life is supposed to be easy.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I say that and people go, what? No, life's not supposed to be easy. That's not how it was all figured out in the first place. We must get over things, and then we gain more confidence in ourselves that we can get over the next thing. I mean, that's really how I look at it. When you learn to use your feet from the very beginning, I mentioned this a while ago in the interview, there's nothing out there that you can learn from. You have to create it in your head. So you have to fail several times before you learn to get it right. I'll give you a really good one. This is a bit crude again, but it's what I challenge my audiences to do. You're going to love this, man, because you're not going to forget this one ever.
Okay. I'm ready.
Go to the washroom, whatever your expression for it is, go to the washroom and don't use your hands.
Oh, that's tough.
Just as a general challenge to everybody watching this, go to the washroom and don't use your hands. So the immediate reaction would be, hey, buddy, that's impossible. No, it's not. I do it every day. I'm able to go to the washroom myself. Now, I'm not going to show you. But the fact of the matter is, it took me a long time to figure that out. Everything from the physical ability with my feet, the flexibility that I need for personal hygiene, but more than anything, the clothing. So these shirts, for example, this isn't a very fancy shirt. I just like the colors. When I put this on, I don't do the buttons. I just throw it over my head, and I shake it down. When I'm putting on my pants, I use my legs sitting down and then standing up, and I use the edge of a countertop or a toilet seat or a knob on a drawer or whatever's handy to pull my pants up the rest of the way. Now, has there been people in my life to help me? Sure. But when I was a young man, 15, 16 years old, my mom had to dress me. And I just finally went one day, I don't want my mom dressing me. This is embarrassing. So I figured out that I could get people that I knew to help me. Okay, my friends. Went to college, friends helped me. Then I found out I could actually do it myself. So it took me till I was probably 20, I would say 24 years old, before I was able to dress myself by myself for the first time in my life. When that becomes your reality, you learn to accept and appreciate the things that you can do. And if people can understand that, and even more than anything, it redefines what impossible is. But here's the bottom line. It teaches people to ask for help. That's the most important thing. We have to be humble in all of this. And I don't mean humble in the scene, we have to have confidence, but we must have humility because we take things for granted. Everybody that's watching this is an incident or an illness away from having a debilitating condition. And I don't want to scare people because I'm not a negative guy. But when you're born without arms, you learn to appreciate every little tiny thing you can do because you take nothing for granted.
You take nothing for granted. I think that's even the attitude to have, not taking things for granted.
Right.
But Alvin, actually, we know you're already someone who enjoy life, a positive person. But to go a little bit deeper into that concept, we'd like to know what are the things that make your heart soar, that make your heart beating, and make you full of joy. I mean, that'd be interesting to know all these little things or some of them.
I think that I notice beauty and things that make my heart soar every place that I go and look around. Okay, and I really mean that. I think, we can all be content laying on a beach somewhere in a nice sunny climate with a beautiful ocean at our feet. Any person can learn to enjoy that. I need to learn to enjoy sitting in my office here in Calgary, Canada, where outside it's starting to snow. And instead of looking at the snow going, oh my God, it's starting to snow, it's going to be a terrible day, I'm thinking to myself, I need to go out there and let some snow fall on me. Letting the world and all of its beauty embrace you every single day. Again, cheesy comment, but we don't need to be rich to do this. One of the things that I connect with is nature. Whenever I'm really having a bad day, that's what I love about New York, man. I mean, all you got to do if you're in the neighborhood is go find Central Park and go for a walk. And how can you not come out of Central Park not feeling good about who you are? I hear people say, well, I don't have a Central Park in my city. Okay, fine. If you want to argue about this, I'm not going to argue back. But we can all find beauty put on a piece of music, put on some headphones and close your eyes. Sit in a chair and without even any stuff around you, no music, no books, no park or snow outside. We sit, just meditate, just to close your brain off from the noise of the world and breathe in all of the beauty and think about how lucky we are. And again, I know I'm lucky, but I acquired all these things, both my physical possessions, but more than anything, the people in my life. You know, if I'm having a bad day, I'll call a friend and say, I'm having a bad day, man, and we'll have a chat, or we'll meet for a coffee, or we'll go for a walk in the park. There's availability all around us every single day that can build up that soaring as you're speaking about. And of course, every now and then you see something that's just mind-boggling and amazing that, you know, is even more special.
Yes.
But those are things that, you know, are very personal. So, you know, it might be a whale jumping out of an ocean if you happen to be in a place where there's whales. Or even when we were on a vacation not too long ago, a bunch of dolphins started swimming alongside the catamaran that we were out on for a little afternoon on the water. You just appreciate those things, but you don't expect them. I remember one time, one quick story. We were in South Africa. We were actually in Botswana. And it started to rain. And we were out on our Jeep. And we were getting pretty wet. So we put some ponchos on. And I heard there was another Jeep that had come up and stopped for a second talking to our driver. And there was a woman in their Jeep going, "Can't you make it stop raining?" And I'm thinking to myself, you're in Africa and you're thinking, well, make it stop raining instead of, I'm in Africa. That's what I'm talking about.
So, perspective.
Perspective. Always appreciating where you are, but always appreciating that you don't need to be stuck where you are. There are places we can all go if we want to make our lives more full.
I mean, I really like the way you put things.
Thank
Always appreciate where you are.
you. Mm-hmm.
Always appreciating where you are, knowing that you can still go in some other places. You can still.
Absolutely. And, you know, and without getting all, see, a lot of people, if they argue the moment, they might say, well, I don't have the money to move to some place, or I don't have the legal documents to go visit. Those are all technical flaws in our thinking.
Yes.
We have to free our hearts and spirits of the idea. Yes, it's complicated to immigrate to the United States to work for a living. You probably know what that's like. Yes, it's difficult to, you know, get a working visa to go into Europe in some countries. It's very difficult. Got it. But those are all things that are available to us from a technical point of view. I'm not interested in technical points of view. They're there for everybody. I'm interested in how our heart and our spirit says to us, we can do that. And that's just a mantra of mine. Yes, we can. Yes, you can. Yes, I can. It's just a positive affirmation again. Yes, I can.
And Alvin, you also mentioned meditation. How important do you think it is? Or how much do you think it helped you in your journey?
Well, I didn't realize I was meditating when I was young. I would go to the hospitals, and I had to go to the hospitals. It's a funny thing because people aren't sure exactly why I would go if I didn't need to go. Good question. It was the way it was in the era. You know, our families were encouraged to go get these artificial limbs because the doctors believed they would be the cure or the fix because they thought they could fix us. Well, see, that's a philosophical argument. If you're born like this, there's nothing wrong with you, right?
Yep.
Nevertheless, I had to go to hospitals, and my way of dealing with them being in hospital, because it was always away from home. They were never in my neighborhood. I would lay in bed at night, and even though I felt like crying, I would imagine in my imagination, with my eyes closed, my mom's face, and my dad's face, and my cat's face, and my friend's face. And maybe that was meditating. I honestly don't know. It's taking your brain to a neutral place where you can calm your body and get rid of your stress. That's really what meditation is all about. In fact, my wife does yoga every day, and she says yoga is a very different exercise. It's a physical exercise, but it allows your body to be able to have certain effects to it because you're exercising without a lot of stress. You're not running, you're not cycling, you're simply doing something in place. But she goes, when I'm doing yoga, I'm also partially meditating because my brain is focusing on something smaller. See, we've been talking all this interview about bigger. We also have to work on smaller, shrinking our planet in our own sense, finding our own little space where we can go into a corner and just be quiet. Actually, quite frankly, where's my phone? Let me show you something.
Okay.
These are these things. This is my smartphone. These are part of the problem, okay? Because these are making us pay attention to them more than we need to in a day. You know the great thing about having no arms? I can't walk around while I'm watching my phone or texting. How many people do you see do that?
Wow, all the time.
Walking down the street, sitting. There are people sitting in restaurants across from each other on their phones, looking down, not looking at each other. That's just wrong. I don't care what anybody thinks of my comment on this one. Are these important? Sure they are. Is the internet important? Absolutely. But we cannot have these run our lives. And that to me is the biggest problem, is we're getting attached to these. These are not people. These are not spirit or soul. These are electronic devices that are actually, in many respects, I don't want to get weird about this, they're just as dangerous as drugs. You can get hooked on these things. I want to challenge people to put this away for a day and see if you can make it. And they'll go, oh, I can't live without my phone for a day. Yes, you can. And that's why I think we need these exercises to get away, not even just from the noise of the city, but from the noise of our people, of the way that we're developing as human beings. We need quiet. In other words, if you want a great metaphor, go fishing.
Go fishing.
Go fishing.
But
I love the image.
yeah, I mean, actually, I really think it's true. Some people, even, a few years back, let's say in buses or just on street, people were talking. Now people don't talk anymore. They just even walking like this,
Yeah.
going like this, and
I can't
that's
do that. I mean, it's too bad that we're not meeting face to face. We're simply closing a gap of geography, right? You're where you are, I'm where I am.
yes,
But I am more than anything want to stress to people, you have to engage with each other, and it's not even just, I told you earlier, I love getting hugs.
yes,
It's not just about the hug per se, it's about the human interaction. We're now face to face. In fact, even more importantly, I think it's a part of what's wrong with the many things in our society where, our cultures clash. Black people fighting white people, all these different things that are happening, especially in the United States. This exaggeration of racism and prejudice, which I'm sure exists. But I got to tell you, when I look at somebody like you, I'm not looking at somebody specifically because of the color of your skin or the accent you have. I'm looking at a human being, at a brother or sister. And I know that sounds really warm and fuzzy,
yes.
but you don't get that on these things. This is not where you find friends. We love to say, well, I got 1,000 Facebook friends. Really? Really? I'd rather just have one close friend that I enjoy being around that gives me a reason for wanting to get out of bed every day.
Yes, and you might have like 5,000 Facebook friends, and whenever you need them, no one
Where are
shows
they?
up.
Yeah, they're not over helping you move.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, but Alvin, another question is, obviously, everybody just by listening and listening to everything you say up until now, we can feel your energy. You can feel basically it's positive energy that makes you uh, take your life in charge and just wake up. In other words, if I can put it that way. But is there some ideas, some key ideas that really drives you? I know you already mentioned one or two here and there, but it would be great if you can elaborate a little bit on that.
I think one of the things that happened to me very, very early on in my life was recognizing that we're all given something that our gut tells us we should be doing. I think that's a lot of what drives me is my work as a professional speaker, my work as a writer, all those things that really are very much a part of it. But also, I think at the end of the day, one of my major motivations, quite frankly, is this is going to sound a little bit weird. I could have turned out to be a person that was waiting for other people to make me happy. But I realized the only person that can make me happy is myself. So when it comes to the exercises of my life, I'm one of the very, very lucky ones that my work gives me a great deal of joy. My work gives me a great deal of happiness. But what I do with my work is not always just get a paycheck. I think people need to do things in their life that make them smile, whatever that looks like. And I've mentioned it a couple of times already, but I think another activity that people need to do more of is writing. I don't think people write enough. I think if we were to sit down and all pretend in our head, let's just imagine an exercise. You're going to write the book of your life.
Yes.
You're going to write an autobiography of your life. And people say, well, I got nothing to write about. I don't have a story. Everybody's got a story. And what happens when you take in the exercise of writing about your life, and you do it the same way that any author would, you sit down with a writing instrument of some sort, whether it's a piece of paper and a pencil, or a laptop, or an iPad, or a platform, or whatever you're choosing, start writing your life. Begin at the very start, do it chronologically, it's the easiest way to do it. And as you're writing about your life, what I believe will happen to people is they'll remind themselves, but even more importantly, remember things in a different way. We forget things. We forget that we went to this place when we were 7, or we met somebody like this when we were 9, or we went and had a family gathering when we were 12, or, oh, I lost somebody when I was 13. We forget these things that contribute to the fabric of our lives. And as we're writing down what the vessel is, the story of our life, we learn more appreciation of it. And it's just an exercise. It almost is a bit repetitive because we've been covering this in a couple of different ways. But the fact of the matter is we need to be able to have a vehicle in our lives every day that remind us that we are not missing things. When you live without arms, you would think the first thing you'd focus on is what you're missing. Well, I don't. I focus on what I have. And that creates a different presence. So when I walk out the house today to run my errands, even if it's snowing, I'm going to go, I'm okay, because I am so lucky to be in the place that I'm in. But even more than anything, here's one more key to it. There's no end to the journey. People have heard this. It's such a ridiculously predictable cliche. Life is the journey. And we see it that way, that every single day is an opportunity. Now, I know a lot of people might be watching this going, I work in a factory from 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning until 4 or 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. How is that a journey? Well, you know what? If you're working in a factory and you're not enjoying it, go get a better job. I mean, I'm sorry.
As simple as that.
I'm not insensitive, but life's too short to be miserable.
Yeah, and it's even shorter when you only complain and don't take action to make things better.
Absolutely. But even more importantly, as I mentioned before, make sure that you're doing something to give you the physical activity of wanting to move forward in your life, whatever that looks like. We need to feel as if we're doing something with our lives, not just talking about it.
Yes. Definitely. But Alvin, let's say if you had, for example, an advice you could give to, let's say, a 20 years old younger self, what would that be?
I would say get a sense of humor. Learn to laugh at life. Don't take it so seriously. Don't have every discussion with someone like it's the last discussion you're ever going to have. And don't let all of the negativity that swirls around our planet make you believe in the negativity. Let's be honest about this. Most of what we read about or hear about, whether it's online or in newspapers or on television, is written by somebody who is trained to be provocative.
Yes.
I'll give you one of my favorite examples, and I talk about this a little bit in my programs. People say, well, you must have been bullied. You have no arms. You must have had people bully you. Well, sure. But, and I don't dwell on that because it's something that happened a very, very long time ago. So when I talk about young people, a lot of young people get angry. They see the inequities of the world, and someone throws an insult at them, and they take it personally. You're looking at it happen, in very various places around America as we speak. In Ferguson, Missouri, look what's happening there. Are we really that mad at each other? Really? No, I think those people are mad at each other. So the world makes it sound like, well, every black person and every white person in the world is fighting with each other. Well, hey, brother, we're not fighting right here.
No, nothing but love.
Exactly. So if you're a 20-something and you're looking for some kind of advice, lighten up. Just lighten up a little bit. Be a little more buoyant in your step. Don't let the weight of the world, as I told you earlier, weigh you down. Walk proud and tall and make sure that you are, more than anything, engaging. Get off these and get out there.
Get out there.
Get off these and
Get out there and live, brave, see things, see the world if possible.
every day.
Yeah. And I think we're going slowly but surely toward the end of our interview.
Okay?
But I have some few more questions. Let's say, uh, if you had an advice, you already mentioned that you have a son who's almost 30 years old, which are
Yeah.
almost my age. I'm 28, and let's say if you had to give that, I mean, you probably heard of that, but just for all those 20 something people who are watching you right now, if there are some advices, again, you can give coming directly from the bottom of your heart, what would that be? Let's say two or three things you've learned toward your life, I mean, in your journey, that you can really share with them.
Well, the first thing I would say, and that's an easy one because it's really very present in my life with my own son, and that is we all want to spend our lives with a partner, whatever that partner looks like. We want to enjoy our lives being, whether it's married or simply hanging out with somebody, and even again, whatever that looks like to you. If you happen to like, you're a man, you want to be with another guy, that's fine. I'm not going to judge any of these things. Find a love in your life, yes, but don't rush. We need to get our own act together first before we start to hang out with somebody to give us a reason for being. Okay? And why that's important is if we're busy looking for our own identity, we normally don't find it in other individuals. And if we're going through a particularly tough time where we feel alone, we might choose the wrong person to be with that relationship, and that relationship then takes us down a path that may not necessarily be the best path. Or as my son puts it, he's now finally starting to kind of come out of a bit of a dark point of his life. He went through a couple of bad decisions, and even my son,
Yeah.
the son of a motivational speaker, made some poor choices. But the fact is, he's starting to sort of see the world a little bit differently now. And as he put it to me just the other day, I'm now in the right place to meet somebody to hopefully gain a life partner at some point, because he doesn't want to spend it alone. But we need to be, in our own way, happy about who we are, because if we meet the wrong person when we're down, that can cause a lot of problems that are bigger than just one, perhaps, meeting with a person. Secondly, if we're going to be spending time with somebody, make sure that we've brought that back to that metaphor using my foot. Make sure that we raise the bar of that, just like we do with our work. Don't settle for somebody just because we don't think highly enough of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Because the human dynamics are very complicated. We might see somebody, in a restaurant or in our work, and we look at them and go, "Oh my God, that person's attractive." And I'm not in their league. I'm not in their league. I'm not good enough. Why not? Why not? Because we want to make sure that our personal relationships are the most important thing in our world, more important than our work. So when we're looking at settling down with somebody, make sure that person is somebody that we can see spending the rest of our lives with. And a lot of people say this, they go, "Oh, well, the person I meet doesn't have to be the only one that I'm married to in my life. I could have 5 or 6 of those." Fine. You know what? I've been with my wife now 24 years, and I am so grateful for every single day. And then here's the last one. If this is what you're looking for, if this is what your plans are, make sure the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, and then again, I'm being hypothetical now,
Yes.
but if you want to have a family, if you want to have children, make sure that the children that you're having are not just something to put on your trophy case, another possession. We need to embrace raising children. We need to embrace having a family. We need to make it the most important thing in the world. And again, these are not children. Okay, these are
That's
devices.
definitely true.
Children are living, breathing, thinking human beings who are watching you every single day for the cues on how to live their lives. So the key, and more than anything, that's what my parents gave me. My parents' greatest gift to me was not teaching me to use my feet. My parents' greatest gift to me was giving me the wings I would need to soar in my life at 18 years old, to go find who I was meant to be.
Wow. uh, al- Always going toward the end of our interview, but we have some, let's say, 2 more questions.
Okay, because I do have to go as well. So
Yes. Um, the question is, uh, uh, If you had three wishes right now, what would they be?
Well, three wishes, first of all, they would not be things that I want to be given to me. So if we're thinking of the metaphor of the genie in the bottle, I wouldn't say, well, I want $1 billion, although that would be nice. I'm not going to lie about that. The first thing that I wish for would simply be that I wish the world would just get along. I wish we would just all get along. You know, the wars that are going on, the fighting that's going on, the terrorism that's going on is being conducted by people that just don't understand the importance of the relationships we have with people. So my first wish would be that we all just get along. The second wish would be that we somehow are able to get rid of our anger and blame mentality. If the world were just to shift away from blaming things instead of embracing things, then we would be able to have a little better relationship in every facet of our life. And third, I think that this is probably the most important thing. I wish that people would understand that we're not equal. See, this is something that sounds funny to an audience listening to this. They go, "Well, we're all human. You were just a hypocrite. You said we're all the same." No, 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 no. Understanding that if we're living in a village and we're poor and we don't have the big fancy car out front, that's okay.
That's okay.
You know, I wouldn't want to be Donald Trump, would you?
No.
I mean, I wouldn't want to have that hair, let alone anything else. And people say, "I'd love to be Donald Trump." Really? I don't think so. So learning to be content with who we were given as a person that is living our lives. Just start with that contentment. I wish that for everybody on the planet, to just be content in being who we are. And we can take it from there and move up the ladder. But did you notice the wishes are not about giving me something that I can grasp onto and go spend? I would have said something different 20 years ago. But I'm almost 55 years old. And one thing that happens when you get to be this age is you really learn what are the most important things in your life. And I know I'm opinionated about this, but it's really what I take in every single day.
Wow. And Alvin, we interviewed a lot of different people, but no one has given us this perspective up until now.
Thank you.
Each time when we ask for what will be three wishes, they always go like, maybe this, maybe that. But in your case, it wasn't even about you. It's like you want a little bit higher than yourself. You are a little bit above yourself. I mean, that's really honorable. I thank you for that.
Well, you know, what I learned, and this is what I learned from my wife. I didn't learn this from my mom. My mom said it in a different way. But my wife definitely really does promote this every single day, reminding me to not take the responsibility of sharing my words and thoughts with the world lightly. I don't take this for granted either. You know, I'm not trying to be a prophet. I'm simply trying to remind us of some things that sometimes people tend to forget. And that is part of our busy world. You know, we're getting so busy that we say, well, I don't have time to go out with friends. I don't have time to make dinner. I don't have time. Oh, yes, you do. Yes, you do. I mean, really, you just have to make time. You know, when you get to be 55, you start to see the calendar. The pages turn faster. You know, when you're 20, you think, oh, I got all the time in the world. Well, you know, trust me, it goes by in a flash. But here's what I also think happened, and this is something my wife reminds me of every day. Your life has gone by fast, Alvin, because you haven't watched it. You've participated in it. There is a big difference.
You haven't watched it, you participated in it.
Yes.
What would be the difference?
Isn't that great? Well, people wait for the world to come to them. Well, when is the mailman going to show up at my door and give me my success?
Yeah.
That's just stupid. We earn our happiness.
We earn it, and we also have to fight for it.
Totally. And that's where I think a lot of people around our planet are making mistakes. They think fighting for it involves taking a gun or taking a bomb or hurting somebody. They think that's the fight. No, 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 no. That's where we've got it wrong. We gain nothing by war. That's the trouble with our planet right now. We're thinking that if we just, you know, there's a great movie called Freedom Writers. It's an American production. It was based on a true story of a group of classmates in an LA school following the Rodney King riots in the 90s.
Okay.
And one of the essences that comes from that movie, if you've ever seen it, you have to watch it because it's very, very powerful. But in a sense, what it talks about is that there's, in any given urban high school, in LA in this case, there are 4 or 5 little mini groups within that because of the ethnicity of schools, especially in California.
Okay.
So you'd have a little black community, and you'd have a Hispanic community, and you have a Mexican community, and you have a white community, and you might even have even more different little categories within a school.
Yes.
And what the movie really boils down to is the idea that gangs, when they're fighting against each other, their belief is that if they eliminate what's wrong, if they eliminate the enemy, if they eliminate those that are causing them grief, the world will be better. But you see, that doesn't work because you're not actually eliminating the problem. The problem is we need to embrace each other.
Yes.
We need to accept each other. I know that sounds preachy, but that is the trouble. And any time that we need to fight something, we come at it from the wrong energy. If we come at it from a bountiful, let's work together and make this better. Let's work together and because we're all wanting to achieve the same things. And I got a great line, and this might be a good way to start to wrap this up.
Yes.
Nobody on any particular part of our planet loves their babies more than another. We all love our babies. Mm-hmm. Nobody's baby is more important than another. And if we can live with that mindset, then we can start to appreciate the value of human life. And that's the key.
Wow. Alvin, you're amazing. You're terrific. I just so love all the idea you're sharing with us. It's so heart-touching, and I love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Well, it has been you know what? You're the vessel, though, brother. I'm talking to you right now, but you will play this and more people will see it. I couldn't make this happen. You made this happen. We just managed to find each other. And there again, isn't that wonderful? You know, I just think these are things that are meant to be. And if people embrace this idea, it would happen to people all the time. We constantly are shaking our heads going, I can't believe I met you, brother. I can't believe I met you, sister. I can't believe we became friends, or we became, partners, or we became anything. When we're open to the things that are possible in our world, it'll stun and amaze you, because I've seen it, how far this can go.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's even why right now I'm so grateful for meeting you, for sharing, for having this interview with you. I'm also grateful. I say thanks to Darlene.
Yes.
who allowed me actually to meet you, so I'm also grateful for it. And Alvin, our last question is this. You're doing a great work. Actually, maybe you won't realize it, maybe you will think it's pretentious to say that, but you're helping a lot of people, you're changing worlds. Because each person is basically a world. And I really believe your impact, your message, and just your way of looking at things is helping so many people change their life. And my task, I have you recorded. I don't take my words lightly. My task, personally, is this interview. I will help share your message. In some places, when I go back in Africa, I'll tell your story.
Please do.
Yes, I will tell your story, because I know that maybe through me, your life will inspire even more people. So that would be my task and my responsibility.
Well, why do you think I'm smiling right now? See, this is what I've said this. This is our proof, isn't it, my friend? We are having an interview on the internet, but this is not just about the two of us today. This is about where this goes down the road. And that's why when I spoke, as I've many times today already in this interview, spoken to the idea that it's bigger than just us. It can be huge. And I just really believe that. I've spoken to over 2 million people in my career on stage alone. I can't even count the number of people that I've spoken to when I'm not on stage. And that's not because I feel I have a message to talk to everybody. I'm not going to go out and stand on the street corner with a sign saying, want to talk? Right? That's just dumb. But every time if I'm on an airplane, if I'm sitting next to somebody who's flying the same place I'm going, or if I'm in a store and somebody is waiting in line to pay for something and we engage in a conversation. My wife says that I can have an impact on somebody simply standing in a row waiting to get into a theater, because somebody will look at me and go, wow, what happened to you? And I tell them. And they go, and you're independent? Yeah. How'd you do that? Attitude. 30 seconds. That's all it takes. People kind of sit back and go, huh. It's a very powerful thing, my friend.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so happy right now.
Thank you.
But,
Me too.
I mean, here's our last question. 100 years from now, 200 years from now, some people will probably be watching and listening to your message. But in few words, how would you like them to remember Alvin?
I want to be remembered as somebody who did not waste their life feeling sorry for themselves and took their life and gave it the most important gift wrapping possible. And that is, I am such a fortunate man to have been given something that is so treasured in my life that I can share it with everybody else as a reminder that we are only given one life. And what we do with that life is everything.
Wow, amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alvin.